Check two, two, check two, check two. Check, check, check. Check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Two. Check two, two, two. Two, two, two. Check two, 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 two. Blah, 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 blah. La! Check, check. Hey! Hey! Ho! Ho! Two. Check, check, check.
But that's a different rhythm than when I actually start singing, right?
Right. It's the bridge.
Oh. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be your mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be your stream. Wait, am I supposed to be putting another measure or something?
I'm not figuring out this.
When you need to let go. How many beats are in a measure? I'm having a moment. Do you have a phone? Mountain. But that's do you have a phone? That feels like we're doing a 3 and then a 4.
And B.
You can all is that you my
For some reason, I'm failing the IQ test. When you need to.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go.
I have no idea what E.
I can be a mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light.
Oh, it's
What?
E. G sharp minor.
Okay. Yeah.
G sharp minor.
I can be a street light, show you the way home. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place on the world where we're young and able, and bring us back together when to let go. Okay. Okay, that's right.
Okay, I think I understand now. F goes to A, C goes to E.
from the bridge? Unless it confuses you.
They're suddenly here for dinner. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. You can be a mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light, show you the way home. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a space by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world for the young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. Nothing's on, right?
So you want me out during the verses?
Is nothing on? Is anything on?
Are we on? In the monitor.
No, the monitors are on. Are we in the house?
Yes.
Wow, I really can't hear myself. I want to. Is this on? But you just need to turn me on. Do
I
nothing.
hear you in the house a little bit, but,
Step away.
You're loud.
and I can't even hear her in there. But
If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seed. Plant a little happiness. Let the roots run deep. If it's love that we give, then it's love that we reap. If we want a garden, we're gonna have have to sow the seed. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. The door is always open.
Let's do that transition.
It goes right in, right?
Yeah.
Together when the day is done. The door is always open. Your picture's on my wall. All the times of that are broken. And everyone belongs. And everyone belongs. Yeah, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. And bring us back together when the day is done.
I think I need you to angle it a little bit away from Jenny, or if I'm gonna be too loud. Okay, so wait.
Time when the day is done, with a crowded table and a place let's just do challah and just challah, not even kiddush there, just challah. Great. Should I do that?
Shit, that's wrong.
Together when the day, no, day, bring us back together when the day is done. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to run that again. Wait, but she's leaving. So, shall we do it? Okay, we'll do it at 7. Yep, okay. Do it at 7. And I'll write, I need to go write my chords really big. Alberto. Can we go do a quick eat? Can we do a quick eat? Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll. Yeah, I need to run load up the.
They're so loud.
Serena tonight. I would have thought she would have shown up for this. I don't know. Do you want to go check with Karen?
Am I on?
Yep, you're on.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. I didn't even know that Rabbi Asher was going to come tonight when I chose this opening melody. It was one of his very favorites when we shared the Bima together. Shir Lama'alot. There's a chorus, Shabbat Shalom chorus, that actually has 3 parts that go on top of each other. So we'll sing the first part, then there's a lower part, and then I'll sing the third part on top. It's easy. It goes like this. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Try that again. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Here's the 2 parts. Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach. Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach. Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach. Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach. Now the challenge is to try to pick A or B. Maybe pick the same thing as the person next to you. And you're going to put them together, and then I'm going to sing C on top of it. It's going to be great. We're in the room. We have no masks. Nothing can go wrong. Here we go. Pick one of the 2 parts. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Keep going. Shir Lamalot, Yeshuv Adonai, Et Shivat Zion, Ayinu Kecholim. Now there's a bridge. Az Yemales Chok Pinu, Ushonenu Rina, Az Yomru Vagoyim, Higdil Adonai, Lasoti Meile. Pick one of the 2 parts. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. That was beautiful. I was going to ask one of our membership committee people who did the entire dinner that was so amazing to light candles, but of course they're all cleaning. Except for Nate, who just walked in. Do you want to come light candles with me, Nate, in honor of the membership committee? Sorry to put you on the spot. Do you want to come light with me? Come on. I'll sing, you light. Okay, that's a deal. All right. He was the lovely human serving food at your tables. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ki v'kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you. So we're holding a lot of different conflicting things in our hearts tonight. Every day, of course, being a human being involves in holding joy and sorrow and pain and release, but it feels acute tonight. It's our new member Shabbat. We hold joy for all of you, all of the new members who've joined our community during COVID in particular, some before COVID, who've chosen to become part of community during this time of constriction, which is a joyful thing. It's Women's History Month. Thank you very much. I'm a part of a group on Facebook of women clergy, and there was someone who sent around a post that said, is anyone serving a pulpit where there's only women who sit on the bema? And there were so many people who wrote, yeah, rabbi, candor, executive director, director of the school, all women around these parts. Yes, we honor that here. Joy, I'm feeling the extraordinary pain of what's happening in Ukraine and not knowing how to fold all of it together into a service. Shabbos, joyful. The Torah portion, complicated, right? It's all coming together at once. So we're going to do our very best tonight to fold it all together. I want to start with a poem. It's a little bit long, but I think it's worth it. In honor of Women's History Month, before we dive into the rest of our service, and it is aptly named The Invitation. It's written by a poet named Uriah Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day. And if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and will stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of the moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. Turning to page 142. Shalom Aleichem. Let us welcome in the spirit of the angels into our space to keep us company for Shabbat, to bless us with their presence. 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, The first stanza says, Shalom Aleichem, welcome, hello, peace, wholeness to you, angels. And the last stanza says, Tzedchem L'Shalom, go away. May you leave. Why do we want the angels to leave? I don't want them to leave for Shabbos, so I like to add the little shalom again. Like, we told you to leave, but actually we want you to stay. Please stay. Can we not just ask the angels to stay? We're turning back to 130. Lechu neranena ladonai. Let us sing joyously to God. Naria letzur yishenu. Lechu neranena ladonai. Naria letzur yishenu. Lechu neranena ladonai, naria letzur yishenu, b'kadma fana b'tzoda, b'zmirot naria lo, Turning to 132, moving just step by step through Kabbalat Shabbat. You've been here for a minute. You had dinner, maybe had a glass of wine. You maybe got to shed your week, let it go a little bit. Kabbalat Shabbat is just that. It's transition. We need some transition to relaxation. Such a strange thing. It's like the idea of a breath practice. If you practice yoga at all and you need to learn how to breathe, that seems like it shouldn't have to be a thing, teaching you how to breathe. But we need to learn how to breathe deeply. We need to learn how to relax and release and be present. We need to learn to be mindful, these things that are so easy for kids to do. And somehow we lose the ability to do those things as we get older. Kabbalat Shabbat, that's all we're doing. Just getting here. Just being present, remembering that it's Shabbos. Bottom of 132, Psalm 97. Asher was just reminding me, I have to tell you, little Asher was there doing this. And when I was 22, exactly, when I was 22, I was a kindergarten teacher. And of course, I sang all the time to the kindergartners. And we decided at the end of the year to make a little album of music for the kindergartners because we had sung so much music. So we went to the recording studio, and I didn't want my voice to be heard. I wanted their voices to be heard. So we're sitting in the studio, and when it was time for them to sing, I got really quiet. And then they were all like, oh, we're supposed to get really quiet. I was like, no, you're supposed to be loud. I'm going to be quiet. But I had spent the entire year training these kids to like move their bodies and imitate what I was doing. So the recording ended up being us all being very loud. Or else they weren't going to be able to sing out loud. It was a very good learning experience as a teacher. What happens with especially little ones. Page 136. Mizmor LeDavid. Is that called mirror neurons, right? People mirror your behavior. Turning the page to 138, we've arrived at the Chadodi, our official invitation to cross over into Shabbat. If there's anything that is holding you back from being here now, our tradition says, let it go. It will be here tomorrow night. It will be here on Sunday. You can't do anything about it. It's gone. Whatever happened, it is in the past. The Chadodi says, let us spread out this carpet for ourselves to walk on into Shabbos. 1, 2, 5, 9. We'll rise for 9 and turn to face the doors and officially welcome Shabbos into our hearts, into our bodies, into our space. Ya la 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 Chadodi, ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 בני שבת, בני שבת לקבלה, ya la 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 לחדודי, ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 בני שמור וזכור בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת רק שבת לכו ונלכה כי בכל הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה יא לילי יא לללי לך דודי יא לללי לקראת חלה יא לללי בני שבת התעוררי כי בורא וביורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה יא לילי יא לללי לך דודי יא לללי לקראת חלה יא לללי בני שבת לקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת חלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה יא לילי יא לללי לך דודי יא לללי לקראת חלה יא לללי בני שבת לקבלה. You can have a seat. Turning the page to 140, Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat. One more psalm to close out Kabbalat Shabbat before we enter officially into the prayer. Right, all of this has been, as I said, warm up, but also praise, psalms of praise. We haven't said yet a Baruch Atah Adonai, right? None of those exact words of prayer have come into play when we enter into that deeper space with ourselves. On 140, Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat. Tov lehodot ladonai. It is good for ourselves to offer up praise. It's good for the spirit. Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat. Tov lehodot ladonai. Ulezamer לשמחה עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת. מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני. Before we move into Chatzi Kaddish and Baruch Hu, I want to offer the first of a few moments of thinking about the people of Ukraine in a particular way. Some of you may have received in your inbox, which I do, all kinds of New York Times things. And one of the things I received was, I think it was an opinion piece about how readers around the world are praying for Ukraine. And a writer had asked for people to send in their prayers. And so people wrote in the actual things that they are saying when they pray for Ukraine. So I want to pepper those, Brooklyn, New York, Chicago, wherever they are, these beautiful prayers that people wrote. English. Sam Rood in Brooklyn wrote, "My coworkers in Odessa have been praying that a holy fear would fall upon the Russians so that they have an empowering desire to go home. I've adopted that prayer." Pamela Thatcher in New York says, "God, please allow Putin to reject his thirst for war and punishment and greed, and whatever goal he had for his war, let him pursue it through other means." I pray for their leaders, of course, and especially the extraordinary President Zelensky. I pray for the humans, the pets, the horses, the cows, the farms, the fields, the rivers, the very earth of Ukraine. Taking those words into our heart, Chatzi Kaddish is found on page 144 as we prepare in a moment to stand for the Baruch Hu. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah Be'alma divrach yirutei ve'amalich malchutei B'chayechon uv'yamechon uv'chayedecho bet Yisrael Bagala bagala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulam me'amaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach, ve'yishtabach Yitpa'ar v'yitroma ve'yitnasei ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yital shemei dekudesha Le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma ve'yimeru Amen. Please rise. Oh yeah, I forgot. Have a seat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam on page 148. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Read with me at the bottom this blessing for creation. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Ahavat olam, Bet Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, B'shachbeinu ufkumenu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yamenu, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שכבוד שכבוד לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך בדיבורך דיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם במזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת אדוני אלוהיכם אמת 158 Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Some people, when praying for Ukraine, are praying the words of Psalm 31, a lot of people, in fact, that says, "In you, God, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. Deliver me in your righteousness. Turn your ear to me. Come quickly to my rescue. Be my rock of refuge, a strong fortress to save me. Since you are my rock and my fortress, for the sake of your name, lead and guide me. Keep me free from the trap that is set for me, for you are my refuge. Into your hands I commit my spirit, O God. Deliver me, my faithful one." And we offer up those words with Hashkivenu, asking God with Psalm 31, with the words of our liturgy, to spread a Sukkat Shalom, an enormous, endless Sukkah of peace, of wholeness, of safety, of shlemut, across the world, reaching all the way to Ukraine. Please, God, may the war end speedily and in our days. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim, l'chaim. rise for the Amidah, which we do silently. The history of the Amidah is that it was meant, of the Amidah, the whole evening service was meant to be chick-chock, like really quick, because it was created at a time when it wasn't safe to be outside walking home from shul. There were literal dangers on the way from shul to your house. And so you came to daven, you got it over with, you went home. So as a remnant of that time, it's traditional on Friday night to do the Amidah silently, so you're not going on and on, because we've got to protect ourselves. So on 164, Adonai Svatai Tiftach, we're going to pray that out loud together, and then take your time with your Amidah. Please rise. La 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 Adonai. La 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 Svatai Tiftach. La 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 Ufi Agi. Ufi Yahi Tehilatecha. As we lead into Misha Berach, one final prayer for Ukraine. This one was offered by a woman after evacuating from Ukraine. She didn't want her name to be shared. Her husband is a Ukrainian pastor, and she said that their family is currently in occupied territory, and she's unable to have contact with them, so she wanted to remain anonymous. She wrote, Father God, may the attackers' fingers freeze. May they drop things. May they not see clearly. May their equipment malfunction. May they experience overwhelming hopelessness, enormous fatigue, and a complete loss of any desire to fight. May their communication be broken. May there be confusion. Lead them to surrender. Stretch the kilometers before them into endless kilometers of non-advancement. Remove their leadership and replace them with people who make decisions that reflect a fear of you. God of all comfort, be physically present with all the mothers, fathers, grandparents, and children who are hiding, hearing, smelling, enduring. Warm them, fill them with food, give them water, toilets, communication with their loved ones, the gospel, hope in you. We humble our hearts, our bodies. We ask you for mercy. Along with all of those who are suffering, of course, in Ukraine and across the world, we add these names: Susan Wisnadell, Iris Kaplan, Leslie McDonald, Liba Cooperman, Sandy Foreman, Harvey Gilbert, Martin Zaretsky, Dan Tootin, Rachel Faye Wells, Irene and Martin Garfinkel, Leah Batrachel, Eileen Farley, Judy Griffith, Maria Elizabeth Rausch, Lev Heschel ben Batami, Herschel Tzvi, Prashant Vemuri, Samuel Phillips, Joan Schwartz, Meir ben Shoshana, Mordechai Yosef ben Gita Yaakova, Dave Cohen, Ty Ellenwood, Bob Wilk, and Stan Hurwitz. Along with those names, others to add this evening. You can call them out.
Barbara Cohen.
Ana elna refanala. Ana elna refanala. Ana elna refanala. Let's learn a tiny bit of Torah before we finish our service. So, of course, it was just Purim, today's Shushan Purim in Jerusalem and other walled cities. It's Purim Wednesday night, Thursday. And I've heard it said that Purim is a more important and deeper holiday than Yom Kippur, than Yom Kippur. And it was described to me by a rabbi once that that's the case because Yom Kippur is straightforward. We know what we're there to do. We're asking forgiveness, we're searching our souls, we come out clean. If we do the job, it's a straight path, Yom Kippur. Purim, much more complicated. It's about the hidden spaces within ourselves that want to come out and be revealed, that we don't allow, except with a mask, except in costume, except when we're a little shicker, right? It's about reclaiming a disowned part of ourselves that maybe we don't like so much and we want to shove to the side, or maybe it's a space, something in ourselves that speaks to us, but we don't have the courage to let out except on this one day of the year that gives us permission to be a little wild, to be a little crazy. You're supposed to dress up in opposites, cross-dress, costumes, wildness. On the surface, it's a joyful, silly kids' holiday. Underneath, it is a deep soul reflection of what it means to be a human being. So I was listening to a podcast. I was talking to Marianne about it at the dinner this week. And it reminded me, it talked about a wood-burning stove. And I forgot that in the first house that I lived in when I moved from New York back to California 18 years ago, amazingly, we lived in a little house that had a wood-burning stove in the living room. And it was terrifying with a tiny little person living in the house as well. Had to learn about the very hot stove. But the wonder of a wood-burning stove, if you master it, if you know how to handle it, and you have a fire that goes in it long enough, that when you go to sleep at night, when it's cold, you can close the door just enough so that the fire goes down just to an ember, but not entirely going out. And then in the morning, all you have to do is open it a little bit, or open the flue. Thank you. I was going to say the chute. That's not correct. Open the flue, and a little air goes, and the fire comes back. You think it's out, but it's not out. You think it's burned down to nothing, but it's not nothing. And it spoke to me today when I was hearing that podcast because of our Torah portion this week. It's Parshat Tzav. We're in the dreaded book of Leviticus, which I'm learning to love. I will admit I'm learning to love this book. It's the book Vayikra in Hebrew. Has nothing to do in the title about the Levites. Leviticus in English is about the Levites. Vayikra has to do with God calling us closer, bringing us close, and that closeness comes in the form of sacrifices, right? Korban, the word for sacrifice, has the root of that word, closeness, karov. And so this whole book, Vayikra, is about the Levitical priests and the sacrifices that they had to offer. And the way that we got close to God was by burning things on the fire. And some things you were supposed to burn completely, and some of the sacrifices were meant to be burned, but then eaten by the priests and shared, depending on what you were burning and what you were burning for. And it begins, Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. God spoke to Moses saying, Tzav et Aharon v'et banav lemor. Tzav from mitzvah, command Aaron and his sons. Zot Torat ha'olah. Already that's interesting. We're not going there. But this is the Torah of the offering. And the Torah. The Torah, was the Torah talking about Big T Torah? Maybe. This is the Torah of the offering. This is the ritual of the offering. Hi ha'olah. The burnt offering itself shall remain where it is, burned upon the altar all night long until morning. You're thinking, how can this be interesting? It's about burning an animal. I swear it's interesting. While the fire on the altar is kept going on it. Now it gets beautiful. The priest shall dress in linen raiment, right? Get dressed in your special stuff. Priest has to put on the beautiful stuff with linen breeches next to his body. And then it says, V'harem et hadeshen asher tochal ha'esh et ha'olah al hamizbeach. And he shall take up the ashes to which the fire has reduced the burnt offering on the altar and place them beside the altar. So the Torah says, you burn this offering, this olah, all night long until it burns to ash, but you don't throw the ashes away. Or you think about your wood-burning stove or your fire. Maybe you still have fireplaces in your homes, even though we're not supposed to burn fires. Maybe you have them. Maybe you burn a fire. Normally, you take your shovel, you throw away the ashes. Not in the Mishkan. It burns down to ash, this olah, this offering, and then you're supposed to take it, heirim et hadeshen, and you're supposed to take it, imagine you have your ash here, and it burns down, and then you're supposed to lift it up, heirim et hadeshen, take the ashes and lift them. Don't throw them away. Actually, elevate the ashes, and then you place them next to the altar. Then, the priest has to change his clothes again. He shall then take off his vestments and put on other vestments. And then he has to take the deshen, the ashes, and he has to take them to a place that's tahor, to a pure place outside of the camp. And in no part of this story does the Torah say, take the thing that was burned down, scrape it off the bottom, and dump it in the garbage. That's not what you do with your offering. In fact, you elevate it, you lift it up, you raise it up, and then you take it, you change your clothes because it's so important, and you take it to a special sacred spot outside of the camp. I have read this, can't even count how many times, and never paid one lick of attention to this text. This is he changes his clothes, and there's the thing, and he burns the fire, and it's never gonna. Turns out when you really pay attention, there's something to be found. So what is the Torah telling us? This year, as I read, I find that the Torah is telling us that we are not supposed to discard the parts of our lives that have been burnt down. The parts of our lives that are our past, that are our history, the parts of ourselves, the patterns in us, our traumas, the things that have made us who we are. We may want to throw them in the garbage, but we can't actually do that. They never burn down to nothing. It burns to ash, and the ash of the offering itself is so sacred that you cannot throw it away. Even the ash of the experience of being a human being is something holy. So all that has made us who we are, it counts for something. And we can't take it and throw it in the garbage. We have to always understand that it's a part of our life. And in fact, we have to lift it up and honor it. I mean, how many of us have spent time in therapy or spiritual direction with the broken record of the themes of our lives and wishing that we could just stop it already with the thing that always comes up over and over again? But that's because it's actually part of who we are. And the Torah is saying, take that and honor it. Don't put it in the garbage because it's actually part of who you are. And some of that, you in fact have to remove and put it into a sacred space because you have to make space for new growth, because there's an ember inside the ash that if you just, it's going to turn into a fire. There's always a spark of an ember of rebirth that exists even in the ashes of our history and the ashes of our being that we have to honor and sometimes make space and put it to the side and store it in a sacred place so that something else can be reborn.
So the question the Torah is asking us is, each of us, what are the ashes within ourselves that should be lifted up and placed beautifully next to our altar? And which are the pieces that we need to say, you have served me so well, I'm going to take you gently and put you over here into this sacred place, and I'm going to blow onto this little tiny ember and turn it into some new life? When are we meant to change our clothes and be reborn and take something from our inner sanctuary and put it to the side? And when are we supposed to say, this is just part of who I am, and I want to build it into a fabric, a new mosaic of who I'm meant to be? How do we stay connected to who we were before? And how do we let go of what we no longer need? But neither of those acts require us to dump our past, to shame our past, to feel terrible about our past. They're all sacred. One is honoring and one is putting into a holy place. And none of it is feeling terrible about our past, because our ashes are just part of our history. As I was thinking of this, I was remembering, my parents are here, when I turned 21, they surprised me by asking all these people in my life to make a quilt for me. And each person was given a square to make something for a quilt. And they had this beautiful quilt made for me. And I'm not close to some of those people anymore. I'm very close to some of them still. Some of it represents me today. Some of it represents my past. And all of it is the mosaic of my life. And if I thought about my life as wanting to get rid of the pieces that no longer serve me today, that are no longer relevant, I would have to cut squares out of this beautiful quilt. But all of it makes me who I am. So I think the blessing from the Torah this week that I've never seen before is that every piece of our history, every piece of our learning we're meant to build upon it and honor it. Even our dirty, dusty, ashy places have a role of holiness in our lives. Might have to change your clothes. Might be a little dirty when you touch it. That's okay. The Torah says change your clothes, put on something new, and then honor those pieces too. So as we move into this Shabbos, I pray that we can all find a sense of wholeness. Find that whole quilt within yourself. Don't cut the pieces out. They all make you who you are. Even the pieces that feel repetitive and that you don't want, they're stuck. They're ashes. They're inside you. And they are all meant to create the blessing of each individual human being that we are. Shabbat shalom. We're going to move into Aleinu 586. Please rise. Are there any little kids that are still left here? One by one, all the little people left. I can't see if there are any. Everyone's too tired. I can't see. Ooh, do you want to come up and open the ark? Yay! The mighty last pre-B'nai Mitzvah aged child in the room. Thank you, Isaac. Here.
Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula leyotzeh bereshit. Lo asanu kigoyai aratzot, velo asmanu kimishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu bayom Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad. You can close. Thank you so much. 598, you can have a seat. We're in the tender period of Aninut, the first 7 days, the first, not even 7, the first few days between death and burial for Susan Alberts, Sylvia Schwartz, and Robert Schwartz. It's the period of Shloshim for Gerald, Jerry, Robert Kinsman, and it's the yahrzeit this Shabbat of Phyllis Biegelman, Dan Benzev, Larry Berkner, Pearl Cherry, James Cohen, David Doran, Ray Gottfried, Ben Green, Phyllis Hirsch, Morris Kaplan, Marion Kaplan, Stanley Levin, Kurt Lobel, Harry Mobius, Bella Deborah Rofer, Marion Rosenberg, Robert Selesky, Julia Sharlock, Walter Schenholz, Ruth Shotland, Marlene Seifer, Mary Weiss, and Louis Weiss. Are there other names for Kaddish this evening? There's such power in calling out a name. If you are in mourning or observing a yahrzeit, I invite you to rise first. And if it's your custom to rise along with the mourners, I invite you to do so. On 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi shemei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shalama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bim romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, Amen. You can have a seat. Julia, I was about to say, I don't know who's doing announcements, but here she comes.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I don't know if you would mind, and if you can, and you're a founding member, would you mind standing up so we can see who you are? We want to thank you so much for joining us tonight for our new member Shabbat. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for everything you've done for years and years and years for B'nai Tikva. I'm going to turn this into a funny thing. The whole Torah portion tonight, Tzav, reminds me of exactly what you're talking about, you know, where you make mistakes and stuff. And unfortunately, it made me flash back to the time I actually put ashes into a trash can and melted the whole green can that we have here. And I'm going to try to forgive myself, but if you want to hear more details, I'm not going to tell them up here. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I know you're right there. We have a Keshet group next Saturday night, March 26th, for a potluck and a game night. It's 6:30 p.m. in person. So please sign up in the weekly email. They're a lot of fun. I would be there, but we have a Midrashah retreat. I hope you all join. Really great. Please buy your tickets for the B'nai Tikva Gala. It's called L'chaim, or To Life, and it's honoring our rabbi in 18th year here. Sorry, one of those Jewish numbers. And your invitation will be in the mail soon. We have really good news. We're going to be hosting a Wise Sons Deli for your Passover meal. So if you don't want to cook, because you probably did a lot of that during COVID, you've got to order it by April 15th, please. And this is a cautionary warning. Goofball is our neighbor cat. So if you're saying goodbye in the parking lot and you leave your car door open, you could be like some of our members who have driven all the way home to find, including myself, to find Goofball in your car. So with that, I say Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for the music. Thank you, everybody here that works at B'nai Tikva for contributing to tonight's oneg and making sure we have food. And thanks for the music. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We're going to close with the folk song. Surprise, surprise. I don't know when we last did this, but it's by the High Women, Women's History Month, and it's called Crowded Table. We wanted to do it in honor of our new member Shabbat, wanting us to have many crowded table gatherings, the joy of community, the joy of having people around and bursting at the seams. This is our hope and our wish for our community moving forward. You can hold my goal. I can be your mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light showing you the way home. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seed, plant a little happiness, let the roots run deep. If it's love that we give, then it's love that we reap. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seed. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. The door is always open, your picture's on my wall. Everyone's a little broken, and everyone belongs. Yeah, everyone belongs. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on Shabbat Shalom.